Good evening and welcome back to Michael Reads, a space where you can slow down, sharpen your awareness, and reconnect with principles that shape stronger lives. If you give me just 1 second while I make sure everything is all set up, all good, and I hope you've all had a good day. Um, yeah, everything seems to be as it should be. So tonight we continue our journey through meditations, a work that does not demand attention loudly, yet quietly reshapes perspective through discipline, reflection, and truth. What you're about to hear is not entertainment, nor is it passive philosophy, but rather a guide, something to be applied, something to be lived, something to be tested against your own actions. As you settle in, allow the distractions of the day to fall away gradually, replacing noise with stillness and urgency, with presence, so that what remains is clarity, intention, and the willingness to confront yourself honestly. Because this moment right here is not just about listening, it's about becoming. So if you are here to refine your thinking, to strengthen your discipline and build a more grounded version of yourself, then take some action now, please. It's absolutely free. Subscribe to the channel, like the stream, and share it with someone who needs direction in a world full of noise and confusion. Do not remain a spectator. Step forward and commit. As we move into book 10, there is a noticeable shift in tone where Marcus Aurelius writes with greater urgency, deeper clarity, and a firmness that reflects a man holding himself fully accountable. Rather than offering gentle reminders, he challenges hesitation directly, calling out delay, exposing excuses, and reinforcing the idea that time continues forward regardless of readiness. Within these passages lies a powerful confrontation, one that asks why we continue to postpone the very changes we know are necessary, despite understanding what must be done. So, this is not a chapter about learning something new, but about acting on what you already know. Throughout this book, Marcus repeatedly brings attention to the habit of postponement, highlighting how easily the mind convinces itself that improvement can wait until a later moment. What becomes clear is that delay is really about lack of knowledge, but more often about resistance to discomfort, since growth requires effort. Discipline demands consistency, and change asks for sacrifice. When you say later, what you are often choosing is comfort over progress, familiarity over development, and ease over evolution. Yet the truth remains that the perfect moment never arises, while the present opportunity is always available. So the real question is not when will you begin, but whether you are willing to stop avoiding what must be faced. Marcus then returns to the concept of living in accordance with nature, not as an abstract idea, but as a practical standard for behavior and thought. To live in alignment means acting with reason, choosing fairness, practicing discipline, and contributing meaningfully to the world around you. Whenever you drift away from this through distraction, indulgence, or ego, you create tension within yourself because your actions no longer match your design. That internal friction is not accidental, it is a signal. It reminds you to it reminds you that peace is not found by confronting circumstances, but by bringing your behavior into alignment with what you know to be right. Another central idea emerges through Marcus's reflections on the mind, which he describes as a place of control, strength, and independence. External events may unfold unpredictably, people may act unjustly, and situations may challenge your expectations, yet none of these possess the authority to dictate your internal state unless you allow them to. What this means is that your response remains your responsibility, regardless of what happens around you. True resilience is not built by avoiding difficulty, but by maintaining control over your perception, ensuring that your thoughts remain steady even when circumstances shift. This is where discipline becomes visible, not in what happens to you, but in how you choose to interpret and respond. Running beneath everything in Book 10 is a constant reminder that life is finite, not in a way that creates fear, but in a way that sharpens focus. Marcus reflects on how quickly time passes, how easily days are lost, and how often people behave as though they have endless opportunities to change direction. Each day that begins is a chance to act with intention, yet each day that ends is one that cannot be reclaimed. Time is not something you hold on to, it is something you use. So the question becomes whether you are investing it wisely or allowing yourself to dissolve into habits that do not serve your growth. There's also a clear warning about the danger of seeking validation from others, as this shifts control away from your own principle and places it firmly in the hands of external opinion. When your actions are driven by recognition, your direction becomes unstable. Sense approval is inconsistent and often outside your control. Marcus instead reinforces the importance of internal standards, asking whether your behavior reflects integrity, discipline, and alignment with your values. For these elements are present, if those elements are present, then external recognition becomes irrelevant because your foundation remains strong regardless of what others think. So, with just that brief introduction and a look into the themes in Book 10, I shall be going through the reading of Book 10. If you have a copy, let's get to it together. And let's discuss. We're on page 159. If you do not have a copy of the book, just grab yourself a drink, sit back, relax, and let me do the reading. So here we go. Book 10. Will you then, my soul, never be good and simple and one and naked, more manifest than the body which surrounds you? Will you never enjoy an affectionate and contented disposition? Will you never be full and without a want of any kind, longing for nothing more, nor desiring anything, either animate or inanimate, for the enjoyment of pleasures? Nor yet desiring time wherein you shall have longer enjoyment, or a place, or pleasant climate, or society of men with whom you may live in harmony. But will you be satisfied with your present condition, and pleased with all that is about you? And will you convince yourself that you have everything, and that it comes from the gods, that everything is well for you, and will be well whatever shall please them, and whatever they shall give for the conservation of the perfect living being, the good and just and beautiful, which generates and holds together all things, and contains and embraces all things which are dissolved for the production of other like things? Will you never be such that you shall so dwell in a community with gods and men as neither to find fault with them at all, nor to be condemned by them? Observe what your nature requires, so far as you are governed by nature only. Then do it and accept it. If your nature, for so far as you are a living being, shall not be made worse by it. And next you must observe what your nature requires, so far as you are living a living being. And all this you may allow yourself, if your nature, so far as you are a rational animal, shall not be made worse by it. But the rational animal is consequently also a political animal. Use these rules then, and trouble yourself about nothing else. Everything happens in such a way as you are formed by nature to bear it. If then something happens to you, do not complain but bear it. Remember that you are formed by nature to bear everything, and that it depends on your own opinion to make it endurable and tolerable. By thinking that it is bearable, then it is in your interest and in your duty to do. If a man is mistaken, instruct him kindly and show him his error. But if you are not able, blame yourself. Whatever may happen to you, it was prepared for you from all eternity, and the implication of causes was from eternity spinning the thread of your being. Whether the universe is a concourse of atoms, a nature is a system, let this first be established, that I am a part of the whole which is governed by nature. Next, I am in a manner intimately related to the parts which are of the same kind with myself. For remembering this, inasmuch as I am a part, I shall be discontented with none of the things which are assigned to me out of the whole, for nothing is injurious to the part if it is for the advantage of the whole. For the whole contains nothing which is not for its advantage, and all natures indeed have this common principle. But the nature of the universe has this principle, that it cannot be compelled, even by any external cause, to generate anything harmful to itself. By remembering, then, that I am a part of such a whole, I shall be content with everything that happens, and inasmuch as I am in a manner intimately related to the parts which are of the same kind with myself, I shall do nothing unsocial, but I shall rather direct myself to the things which are of the same kind with myself, and I shall turn my efforts to the common interest and divert them from the contrary. Now, if those things are done so, life must flow on happily, just as you may observe that the life of a citizen is happy who continues a course of action which is advantageous to his fellow citizens and is content with whatever the state may assign to him. The parts of the whole, everything, I mean, which is naturally comprehended in the universe, must of necessity perish, but let this be understood in this sense, that they must undergo change. But if this is naturally both an evil and a necessity for the parts, the whole would not continue to exist in a good condition, the parts being subject to change and constituted so as to perish in various ways. When did nature herself design to do evil to the things which are parts of herself, and to make them subject to evil and of necessity fall into evil? Or have such results happened without her knowing it? Both these suppositions indeed are incredible. But if a man should even drop the term nature and should speak of these things as natural, even then it would be ridiculous to affirm at the same time that the parts of the whole are in their nature subject to change, and at the same time to be supervised or vexed as if something were happening contrary to nature, particularly as the dissolution of things is into those things of which each thing is composed. For there is either a dispersion of the elements out of which everything has been compounded, or a change from the solid to the airy to the aerial, so that these parts are taken back into the universal reason, whether this at certain periods is consumed by fire or renewed by internal changes. And do not imagine that the solid and the airy part belong to you from the time of generation. For all this received its growth only yesterday and the day before, and as one may say, from the food and the air which is inspired. This then which has received the growth, changes not that which your mother brought forth. But suppose that this which your mother brought forth implicates you very much with that other part which has the peculiar quality of change. This is nothing, in fact, in the way of objection to what is said. When you have assumed these names, good, modest, true, rational, a man of equanimity, and magnanimous, take care that you do not change these names, and if you should lose them, quickly return to them, and remember that the term rational was intended to signify a discriminating attention to every several thing and freedom from negligence, and that equanimity is the voluntary acceptance of the things which are assigned to you by the common nature, and that magnanimity is the elevation of the intelligent part above the pleasurable or painful sensations of the flesh, and above that poor thing called fame and death and all such things. If then you maintain yourself in the possession of these names without desiring to be called these names by others, you will be another person and will begin another life. For to continue to be such as you have up until now been, and to be torn in pieces and defiled in such a life, is the character of a very stupid man and one over fond of his life. And like those half devoured fighters with wild beasts, who, though covered with wounds and gore, still intend to see the following day, though they will be exposed in the same state to the same claws and bites. Therefore, fix yourself in the possession of these few names, and if you are able to abide in them, abide as if you were removed to certain islands of the happy. But if you shall perceive that you fall out of them and do not maintain your hold, go courageously into some nook where you shall maintain them, and even depart at once from life, not in passion, but with simplicity and freedom and modesty, after doing this one praiseworthy thing, at least in your life, to have gone out of it. In order, however, to the remembrance of these names, it will greatly help you if you remember the gods, and that they wish not to be flattered, but wish all reasonable things to be made like themselves. And if you remember that what does the work of a fig tree is a fig tree, and what does the work of a dog is a dog, and what does the work of a bee is a bee, and what does the work of a man is a man. War and astonishment will daily wipe out those holy principles of mine. How many things without studying nature do you imagine, and how many do you neglect? But if your duty to look on and to do everything that at the same time is in your power of dealing with, the contemplative faculty is exercised, and the confidence which comes from the knowledge of each thing is maintained without showing it, but not concealed. For when will you enjoy simplicity? When gravity, and when the knowledge of everything, both what it is in substance and what place it has in the universe, and how long it has formed to exist, and of what things it is compounded, and to whom it can belong, and who are able both to give it and take it away. A spider is proud when it has caught a fly, and another when he has caught a poor hare, and another when he has taken a little fish in the net, and another when he has taken wild boars, and another when he has taken bears, and another when he has taken Sarmatians. Are not these robbers, if you examine your opinions? Acquire the contemplative way of seeing how all things change into one another, and constantly attend to it, and exercise yourself about this part of philosophy. Such a man who has put off the body, and as he sees that he must, no one knows how soon, go away from among men and leave everything here. He gives himself up entirely to just doing in all his actions, and in everything else that happens, he resigns himself to the universal nature. But as to what any man shall say or think about him or do against him, he never even thinks of it, being himself contented with these two things, with acting justly in what he does now, and being satisfied with what is now assigned to him, and he lays aside all distracting and busy pursuits, and desires nothing else than to accomplish the straight course through the law, and by accomplishing the straight course to follow God. What need is there of suspicious fear, since it is in your power to inquire what should be done? And if you see clear, be content without turning back. But if you do not see clear, stop and take the best advisers. But if any other thing opposes you, go on according to your powers with due consideration, keeping to that which appears to be just. For it is best to reach this object, and if you do fail, let your failure be in attempting this. He who follows reason in all things is both tranquil and active at the same time, and also cheerful and collected. Inquire of yourself as soon as you wake from sleep whether it will make any difference to you. If another does what is just and right, it will make no difference. Have you not forgotten, I suppose, that those who assume arrogant airs in bestowing their praise or blame on others are such as they are at bed and at board, and you have not forgotten what they do, and what they avoid, and what they pursue, and how they steal and how they rob, not with their not with hands or feet, but with the most valuable part, by means of which there is produced when a man chooses fidelity, modesty, truth, law, and good. To her who gives and takes back all, to nature, the man who is instructed and modest says, give what you will, take back what you will, and he says, this is not proudly, but obediently and well pleased with her. Short is the little that which remains to you of life. Live as on a mountain, for it makes no difference whether a man lives there or here. Let men see, let them know a real man who lives according to nature. If they cannot endure him, let them kill him, for that is better than to live as men do. No longer talk at all about the kind of man that a good man should be, but be such a man. Constantly contemplate the whole of time and the whole of substance, and consider that all individual things as to substance are a grain of a fig, and as to time the turning of a screw. Look at everything that exists and observe that it is already in dissolution and in change, and as it were decaying or dispersing, or that everything is so constituted by nature to die. Consider what men are when they are eating, sleeping, easing themselves, and so forth, and what kind of men they are when they are arrogant or angry and scolding from their elevated place. A short time ago, how many of them were slaves, and for what things, and after a little time consider in what a condition they will be. That it is for the good of each person that which the universal nature brings to each, and it is for its good at the time when nature brings it. The earth loves the shower, and the solemn ether loves, and the universe loves to make whatever is about to be. I say then to the universe that I love you as you love. Either you live here and have already accustomed yourself to it, or you are going away, and this was your own will, or you are dying and have discharged your duty. But besides these things, there is nothing. Be of good cheer then. Let this always be plain to you, that this piece of land is like any other, and that all things here are the same as the top of a mountain, or on the seashore, or whatever you choose to be. For you will find just what Plato says, dwelling within the walls of a city as in a shepherd's fold on a mountain. What is my ruling faculty now to me, and of what nature am I now making it, and for what purpose am I now using it? Is it void of understanding? Is it loose and not joined to social life? Is it melted into and mixed with the poor flesh so as to move together with it? He who flies from his master is a runaway, but the law is master, and he who breaks the law is a runaway. And he also is grieved or angry or afraid, is dissatisfied because something has been, or is, or shall be appointed by him who rules all things, and he is law, and assigns to every man what is fit. He then who fears, or is grieved, or is angry, is a runaway. A man deposits seed in a womb and goes away, and then another cause takes it and labors on it and makes a child. What a thing from such a material! Again, the child passes food down through the throat, and then another cause takes it and makes perception and motion, and in fine life and strength the other things, and in fine life and strength and other things. How many and how strange I observe then the things which are produced in such a hidden way, and see the power just as we see the power which carries things downward and upward, not with the eyes, but still no less plainly. Constantly consider how all things, such as they now are, in time past also were, and consider that they will be the same again, and place before your eyes entire dramas and stages of the same form, whatever you have learned from your experience or from older history. For example, the whole court of Hadrian, and the whole court of Antoninus, and the whole court of Philip, Alexander, Croesus, for all those were such dramas as we see now, only with different actors. Imagine every man who is grieved at everything or discontented to be like a pig which is sacrificed and kicks and screams. Like a pig also is he who on his bed in silence laments the bonds in which we are held, and consider that only to the rational animal is it given to follow voluntarily what happens, but simply to follow is a necessity imposed on all. When you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and reflect in what manner you mistake yourself. For example, in thinking that money is a good thing, or pleasure, or a bit of reputation, and the like. For by attending to this, you will quickly forget your anger. If this consideration also is added, that the man is compelled, for what else could he do? Or, if you are able, take away from him the compulsion. When you have seen Satyron, the Socratic, think of either Eutyches or Hymen. And when you have seen Euphrates, think of Eutychion or Sylvanus. And when you have seen Alciphron, think of Tropeiphorus. And when you have seen Xenophon, think of Crito or Severus. And when you have looked on yourself, think of Caesar, and in the case of everyone in the like manner. I do apologize if I've pronounced any of those names wrong. Then let this thought be in your mind, where where then are those men? Nowhere, or nobody knows where. You will continuously look at human things as smoke, especially if you reflect at the same time that what has changed will never exist again in the infinite duration of time. But you, in what a brief space of time is your existence? And why are you not content to pass through this short time in an orderly way? What matter and opportunity for your activity are you avoiding? For what else are all these things except exercises of reason when it has viewed carefully and by examination into their nature the things which happen in life? Persevere then until you shall have made these things your own, as the stomach which is strengthened makes all things its own, as the blazing fire makes flames and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Let it not be in any man's power to say truly of you that you are not simple or that you are not good, but let them be a liar whoever shall think anything of this kind about you, and this is altogether in your power. Who is he that shall hinder you from being good and simple? Only you determine to live no longer, because reason does not allow you to live if you are not such. What is it in life that can be done or said in the way most conformable to reason? Whatever this may be, it is in your power to do it or say it, and do not make excuses that you are hindered. You will not cease to grieve until your mind is in such a condition that what luxury is to be those who enjoy pleasure shall be to you in a matter which is subjected and presented to you, the doing of the things which are conformable to man's constitution. For a man should consider everything that is in his power to do according to his own nature enjoyable. And it is in his power to do this. Now, it is not given to a cylinder to move everywhere by its own motion, nor to water, nor to fire, nor to anything else which is governed by nature, but an irrational soul. For the things which trap them and stand in the way are many, but intelligence and reason are able to go through everything that opposes them, and in such a manner as they are formed by nature and as they choose. Place before your eyes this facility with which the reason will be carried through all things, as fire upwards, as a stone downwards, as a cylinder down in an inclined surface, and seek for nothing further. For all other obstacles either affect the body only, which is a dead thing, or except through opinion and the yielding of the reason itself, they do not crush nor do any harm of any kind. For if they did, he who felt it would immediately become bad. Now, in the case of all things which have a certain constitution, whatever harm may happen to any of them, that which is so affected becomes consequently worse. But in a case like this, a man becomes both better, if one may say so, and more praiseworthy by making the right use of these accidents. And finally, remember that nothing harms him who is really a citizen, which does not harm the state, nor yet does any harm the state, which does not harm law. And of these things, which are called misfortunes, not one harms law. What then does not harm law does not harm either state or citizen. To him who is penetrated by true principles, even the briefest precept is sufficient, and any common precept to remind him that he should be free from grief and fear. For example, leaves. Some the wind scatters on the ground, so is the race of men. Leaves also are your children, and leaves too are they who cry out as if they were credit and seek praise, or on the contrary curse, or secretly blame and mock, and leaves in the manner are those who shall receive and transmit a man's fame to aftertimes. For all such things as these are produced in the season of spring, as the poet says, then the wind casts them down, then the forest produces other leaves in their places. But a brief existence is common to all things, and yet you avoid and pursue all things as if they would be eternal. A little time, and you shall close your eyes, and him who has travelled with you to your grave, another will soon grieve for him. The heal your eyes you ought to see all visible things and not to say, I wish for green things, for this is the condition of a diseased eye. And your hearing and smelling ought to be ready to perceive all that can be heard and smelled, and your stomach ought to be with respect to all food, that as the mill will respect to all things which it is formed to grind, and accordingly your understanding ought to be prepared for everything which happens, but that which says, let my dear children live, and let all men praise whatever I may do, is an eye which seeks for green things, or teeth which seek for soft things. There is no man so fortunate that there won't be by his side, when he is dying, some who are pleased with what is going to happen. Suppose that he was a good and wise man, will there not be at least someone to say to himself, let us at last breathe freely, being relieved from this schoolmaster? It is true that he was harsh to none of us, but I perceive that he he tacitly condemns us. This is what is said of a good man. But in your own case, how many other things are there for which there are many who wish to get rid of us? You will consider this when you are dying, and you will depart more con- contentedly by reflecting this. I am going away from such life in which even my associates, on behalf of whom I have striven so much, prayed and cared, themselves wished me depart, hoping by chance to get some little advantage by it. Why then should a man cling to stay here any longer? Do not, however, for this reason go away less kindly disposed to them, but preserving your own character, being friendly and benevolent and mild, and on the other hand, not as if you were torn away, but as when a man dies a quiet death, the poor soul is easily separated from the body. Such also should your departure from men be, for nature united you to them and associated you. But does she now dissolve the union? Well, I am separated from friends, not however dragged resisting, but without compulsion, for this too is one of the things according to nature. Accustom yourself as much as possible on the occasion of everything being done by any person to inquire with yourself, for what object is the man doing this? But begin with yourself and examine yourself first. Remember what that this which pulls the strings is the thing which is hidden within. This is the power of persuasion. This is life. This, if one may so say, is man. In contemplating yourself, never include the vessel which surrounds you and these instruments which are attached to it. For indeed there is no more use in the parts without the cause which removes the blocks which moves and blocks them than in the weaver's needle and the writer's pen and the driver's whip. What Marcus Aurelius presents in Book 10 is not simply a collection of thoughts, but a direct challenge to the way we live our lives on a daily basis. At its core, this chapter asks whether you are truly living with intention or simply moving through routines without awareness, reacting instead of choosing, delaying instead of acting. One of the most important discussion points here is the idea of responsibility, particularly the responsibility you hold over your own mind, your own actions, and your own direction. It becomes clear that no external force is preventing your growth, only your willingness to act stands in the way. Another powerful area to reflect on is discipline, not as something restrictive, but as something liberating because structure creates clarity, consistency builds confidence, and repeated effort shapes identity over time. Without discipline, intention remains an idea. With discipline, intention becomes reality. There's also the question of alignment, which asks whether your daily actions reflect the person you claim to be or the person you aim to be. If there's a gap between these two, then the gap represents your work. Not tomorrow's work, not future efforts, but present responsibility. Additionally, the concept of time should not be overlooked, as it forces you to confront how you are spending your life in real terms. Are your days filled with purpose or are they consumed by distraction? Are you moving forward deliberately or are you drifting without direction? Because over time, small changes compound, shaping either progress or regret. Finally, there is a matter of self honesty, which is the most difficult aspect of all, since it requires you to look at yourself without illusion, without excuses, and without avoidance. Growth begins where honesty is present. Without it, nothing changes. With it, everything becomes possible. So if this message has resonated with you, then act on it now. Please subscribe to the channel, like the stream, and share it with someone who needs clarity, discipline, and direction. Do not allow this to remain an inspiration alone. Turn it into an action. Uh, Thank you so much for being here. I would like to comment on myself. Today was a bit of a difficult read. You know, sometimes when I do these lives, you know, you really have to be in the zone. But it seems like today a lot of distraction was in mine, so it didn't make for a pleasant read, and I'm pretty sure it reflected um, in this live stream. So I do apologize, but again, I thank you for being here, for showing up with intention, and for choosing to invest in your own growth. So keep reading, please. Keep reflecting, keep building, and I will see you on the next live. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me. This is Michael on Michael Reads. Ta-da.